The internet is full of rabbit holes. But some aren't just strange, they're deranged. Not just odd or obscure, but deeply unsettling and just weird. From obsessive comment chains that stretch for years, to dangerous online cults, to mysteries no one has ever solved. These stories and rabbit holes don't just linger in your mind, they stain it. This isn't about harmless curiosity or quirky memes. These are some deranged internet rabbit holes. Once you dive in, you won't come out the same. If you're fascinated by the dark corners of the internet, make sure to like and subscribe. It helps more than you know. Let's begin. Cantelmoism. Cancer is a deadly disease and affects millions worldwide every year. Work is being done by some of the smartest people on earth in curing it, and there has been some real progress with cancer no longer being the death sentence it once used to be. Along with real progress, there is always someone claiming to have solved it all, usually trying to sell you some snake oil product. However, there was a man who genuinely believed he had solved it. His name was Chris Cantelmo, a Yale graduate. He was also a wealthy biochemist, having run 3 different HPLC companies. HPLC is a high-performance liquid chromatography, which is a technique used to separate compounds in a chemical mixture. It can be used to purify substances or analyze an unknown sample. Cantelmo was unfortunately diagnosed with brain cancer, one of the most dangerous forms of cancer. He claimed that he cured it by simply smoking DMT. DMT, also known as the dead man's trip or dimethyltryptamine, is a powerful hallucinogen that occurs naturally in many plants and animals, including us. However, its exact role in the human body is still up for debate. You might have heard of ayahuasca, which contains DMT. It is allowed in some countries for religious purposes. However, DMT itself is banned internationally without authorization. It is currently undergoing trials for treating clinical depression. Anyway, Cantelmo claimed that DMT was a miracle drug and was determined to share it to the world. He found Reddit through a friend and would post on there hoping to attract others to his pseudo-cult. While most of his Reddit posts are deleted, some websites containing his claims exist. God emits a cosmic broadcast of electromagnetic waves. Humans and all other living creatures with a nervous system can receive information from God's cosmic broadcast while their neural network is enabled by DMT. Adding DMT to an adult brain via orally active ayahuasca or by vaping DMT crystals allows people to see spirits which are always around us, but otherwise invisible, including a multitude of guardian angels voluntarily assigned to each of us. Schizophrenia and autism are one and the same, results from a relative overabundance of bioavailable DMT. From here on, these syndromes can be unified as autophrenia. Autophrenics are geniuses and were created by God to be leaders of humanity. These are just some of the ludicrous claims that Cantelmo makes. He was also very enthusiastic in promoting it. For example, he would spend money on Reddit awards to attract users to his teachings and even offered cancer patients DMT. Cantelmo's main bank account shows that he spent over $70,000 on Reddit awards, and he would target mainly younger subreddits. He would encourage them to make memes that spoke positively about using DMT. He even tried asking researchers to find out more about DMT, but they refused, which is why he apparently turned to Reddit for his activism. Soon, a cult formed around him, known as Cantelmoism, who would praise him and even call him Lord. He had a right-hand man, also known as u/Craig Yoga on Reddit. Cantelmo invested a significant amount of money in this person, asking to him to make a website and even sell his merch.
I guess there's some consternation over at the Discord about Blunt, and if I paid him to get rid of the Discord. No, I did not. I'm not sending out money to people anymore.
This man was sort of like a yes man, feeding Cantelmo's delusions knowingly or unknowingly, and was delusional himself. He said he found Cantelmo on Reddit and was interested in some of his more sane ideas, and never really believed the outlandish claims such as curing his cancer with DMT. So, how did it all start? Cantelmo suffered from lifelong depression and anxiety, and he tried to attempt S-word for the 3rd time on January 15th, 2018. He told his kids before attempting S-word, but thankfully, they called the police in time. He was taken to a psychiatric facility where he was held for several days, and the idea came to him after he left the hospital. So he ordered some tree bark that contained DMT, and using his extensive chemistry knowledge, managed to purify it and inhaled enough to have a breakthrough. He was convinced that there was some sort of God after this, which actually happens to a surprising 50% of previously lifelong atheist DMT users. While he is extremely friendly to anyone he is trying to recruit into his theories, he is completely different to family, according to his younger brother Craig. Apparently, Cantelmo was exceptionally smart and basically achieved every goal he could think of, but also was very stubborn and narcissistic. He had previous experience with hallucinogenic drugs such as LSD and mescaline, and had even tried meth before. In his final months, Cantelmo went on a malicious streak, as the DMT worsened his psychotic delusions. He would go after family members and spread malicious rumors. For example, a friend of his received a call from Cantelmo who threatened S-word. The friend called the police, then Cantelmo accused him of attempted murder. He then went further on to fully dox him, revealing his identity and address. Even more shocking was that people found out that Cantelmo never even had cancer. This was confirmed by family members, and when asked point blank, Cantelmo literally said it was a metaphorical cancer of the brain, referring to him being an atheist before.
Before anyone wants to do an expose on me about cancer, I never had brain cancer. I had the worst form of cancer. Atheism, and DMT cured that.
I'm trying to get your attention when I'm mean to people, he continued, and I'm going to die someday, right? Who cares about me if I get hit by a truck? Who cares about me? DMT is more important than I am, because when I die, I'll be out there helping you as best I can from the spirit world. Like I know I exist, and I'm going to be there. It's not about me. It's about DMT. In the end, Cantelmo committed S-word on a Sunday morning in 2019. He was on his Lakeview Terrace ranch and left a note to his friend, saying that he was going for a walk and to not let the dogs go out. He walked around 4 miles into the Angeles National Forest before committing S-word with 2 folding knives. An unfortunate and sad end of an exceptionally smart man who was taken in by the treacherous world of drugs. Boneghazi. Fantasy is one of the biggest genres in modern entertainment. The idea of a magical reality appealing to the vast majority of people. For most, it is just that, fantasy, and don't actually believe in magic with the advent of modern science. But some groups that claim to practice magic remain, in the form of neo-pagan groups. It can be a form of self-expression, especially among minority groups that are often targeted, such as the LGBTQ+ community. For example, in 2015, Vice reported a surge in witchcraft in this group. There are no defined rules in witchcraft, and according to several practitioners, it is more about having the freedom to choose your own path. In a Vice article, a transgender non-binary witch, Dakota Hendricks, said this: "Being a witch is being autonomous. That's the whole point. That's how we draw power. We're defying the patriarchy. We're defying the submissive norm." One group that was based on this idea was the Queer Witch Collective, a Facebook group that had a peak of around 2,000 people. To protect against discrimination of African-based witchcraft, which often includes complex rituals, the group banned any shaming of these practices, and so it was quite open-minded. However, one user known as Ender Darling took it too far. Born in 1991, they were a self-proclaimed witch based in New Orleans. On December 8th, 2015, they posted in the Facebook group, saying that they had been taking human bones for, according to them, curse work and general spells that require bone, which they preferred over animal bones apparently. She took them from a graveyard, but only because they were apparently offered by their personal goddess, as they were above the ground. She provides the bones if I only take what the earth gives, and I leave offerings of drink, honey, and flowers. New Orleans has a problem similar to other cities which are significantly below sea level, where things buried underground would rise above ground during intense rain, in this case, human bones. Usually, family of the deceased would entomb them to stop this macabre problem, but many poor families couldn't afford this, so they would just bury them in the dirt. Darling was, in fact, collecting the bones of the poor who could not afford to properly bury their family who passed away, and claiming it was given to her by her goddess. She even offered to ship these bones to other members of the Facebook group, provided they paid for the shipping cost, of course. Due to the group's strict enforcement of their anti-shaming rule, Darling received somewhat positive responses initially, with some concern of legality. But then, group members began picking up on it, and quickly negative comments flooded the post. People figured out that the bones were probably taken from Holt Cemetery, which was known to be a potter's field for the poor. A potter's field, also known as a pauper's grave, is a site where unknown or unclaimed people are buried. Basically, people without any family are buried here by the local services, so everyone is given the minimum respect, even without anyone to pay for it, after they pass away. This site, especially, contains a larger number of poor people of color, so many users accuse Darling of implementing white supremacist and colonialist tactics to do your own bidding. The post began to go viral outside of the Facebook group when someone shared a screenshot, calling her a little shithead and a culture vulture. Even local news outlets picked up on it. One user on Tumblr also called it out, which received over 30,000 notes, where it was dubbed Boneghazi. Darling responded to it from her other account after she deactivated her original, posting a lengthy response where she defended herself by saying she did not actually dig anything up and it was all above ground, so according to her, she wasn't stealing anything. Furthermore, she said she was being more respectful than others, citing the rundown condition of Holt Cemetery. Most Tumblr users were still not convinced and still accused her of stealing the bones of New Orleans residents too poor to afford an above-ground burial. One user, known as the Skeleton Fairy, hilariously cast a curse on Darling. Bone theft is a most heinous act, the fairy declared. Hear me, Bone Witch, and know that you are forever cursed. So say I, the Fae of Femurs, the Imp of Iliums, the Sylph of Skulls, the Pixie of Pelvises, the Skeleton Fairy. The police didn't find it so humorous though, and the Attorney General of Louisiana began investigating Darling a couple weeks later. It is actually a felony according to state law, and some users said that they are not there for the taking, simply because they are exposed to the elements. A month later, on January 28th, agents searched her home, where they found 11 bones and 4 teeth on a self-described altar. As they didn't know whether they were human bones or not, Darling was not charged with anything, but they did summon her and her roommate to court for possession of marijuana. In an interview with the New Orleans Advocate, her roommates said that they were not involved at all, and that roommates, think she thought she had way more power than she actually had. Darling did admit to sending a box that contained a tooth and some shards of bone, but stated that it wasn't about making a profit. She also added, I'm sorry I care more than you care about your dead, saying that the New Orleans residents should be ashamed of the conditions of these graveyards. In the midst of all this controversy, Darling left New Orleans out of fear for her daughter's safety. On July 15th of the same year, it was confirmed that the bones taken from her home were in fact human. So police arrested Darling in Florida and extradited her back to New Orleans a couple weeks later. She pled guilty of burglary from Holt Cemetery, which she denied multiple times as the source of the bones, and also marijuana possession, which was illegal back then. She was given a 5-year suspended sentence for the burglary and 15 days in prison for the weed, but as they were in jail for an extended period, they served no further time. The controversy hit the Queer Witch Collective Facebook group hard, as the moderators did defend Darling a little, saying that they were being attacked for their practice. The moderators left the group and new ones took up the position, but many had already left, and everyone else was removed. The group now requires an application to join, and just a year later had only 77 members, massively reduced from the initial 2,000 plus community. While removing human remains from a cemetery was already illegal in the state, a new act was created to further clarify it, known as the Louisiana Human Remains Protection and Control Act by Senator Neil Reiser. It added harsher penalties and explicitly stated that Louisiana law has never permitted, recognized, or sanctioned ownership rights in human remains. Captain Cutchee's Key Lime Pies. In October of 2009, a user on the internet took to comment sections on various blogs and articles and started leaving comments about key lime pies from a restaurant named Cutchee's Key West Cafe. The Cutchee's Key Lime Pie reviewer had posted on many different sites for many years, even using pseudonyms. taking to several online restaurant review sites, similar to Yelp. The strange part about this particular internet mystery isn't the posts themselves. It's the fact that the post started at least 3 years after Kutchi's Key West Cafe closed, and the comments were posted persistently for nearly a decade and hundreds of times. Now, why would anyone post over 700 times through 35 different names for over 8 years? More specifically, over a restaurant that had been closed for 3 to 4 years at that point. To get anywhere near an answer, it's important to know what the actual restaurant even was. Kutchi's Key West Cafe opened in Asheville, North Carolina in 1978. Oswald Pelez Jr., aka Kutchi, and Anita Pelez owned and operated the establishment. It closed in either 2005 or 2006. There's very little information about this restaurant on the internet, but if you dig enough, you can find newspaper articles written about it. The restaurant is still seen on Google Maps, however. Residents of Asheville have chimed in, with several mentioning their experiences with the restaurant and the food. While the hundreds of comments about the restaurant talk about its key lime pies, back then it was actually known for their burgers, and their key lime pies was just another item on the menu. For as little as is written about Kutchi's online, the key lime pie comments seem to confirm what is known about the restaurant. Residents of Asheville who were familiar with Kutchi's when it existed confirm many of the statements made by the person posting these comments, making things a lot more eerily odd. The poster mentions a crocodile in the restaurant, as well as visits by celebrities like Jimmy Buffett. These facts are confirmed by Asheville locals, which seems to confirm that the Kutchi poster is quite familiar with the restaurant. This may seem obvious, but until Asheville residents confirmed this, there was a lot of speculation that the KLP poster was just making things up, or using Kutchi's as a random restaurant name. Digging deeper into the posts, and specifically into the keywords, it seems clear at this point that the Kutchi poster frequently Googles certain words or phrases, and then comments on those articles or pages. Some of these searches include key lime pie, burgers, food in general, Kutchi, Kutch, etc., Pelez, Anita, Captain, Asheville, North Carolina, Florida Keys/Key West, goody goody. Those words and phrases make sense, of course, as they're directly related to the posts he or she is making, but other phrases don't seem to apply at all, like Hemingway, reggae, sharks, urban legends, net worth, and market value. And then some weird sex-related keywords: size matters, better than sex, junk, package, dick, naked, body image, modeling, pop culture, and politics. The content of the posts vary widely, and for the most part, the posts are totally unique, although there are some exceptions to that rule. The other accounts he uses have different posting styles as well. For example, Jake Carson almost always copy and pastes his comments. Another fake account, Willie Jordan, has a tendency replying to articles and blog entries about things of a sexual nature, although not pornographic. To the best of his knowledge of the community, the KLP poster does not post pure pornography, although Willie Jordan sometimes skirts that line. For example, on an article titled Naked, Willie Jordan left a comment that read, "You know, down under our claws we are all naked as a bunch of jaybirds. My 7.5 inches just flopping around down there in the breeze. All my wife's beautiful attractive package is butt naked and ready for my attention on the drop of a hat. Yup, all of us are really butt naked right before our very own eyes. Just a few clothes separating us from our true selves. I vote along with Jessica. We should all get butt naked together and smile with each other and love one another right now. And while we are spreading our naked asses all over each other, then perhaps we should totally delight ourselves by ordering ourselves many of those delighted delicious key lime pies to eat from." Anita and Kutchi's Pelez's Key Lime Pie Factory and Grill in Asheville, North Carolina, near the Biltmore Estate. Yeah, now that sounds like a plan indeed. Are you ready? This is interesting because the comment directly references the blog post which is commenting on, which is about skinny dipping, and its author, Jessica. While Willie Jordan reads and replies to the content of what he is posting on, another fake account, Roger Ramjet, tends to leave comments that are more generic and seemingly disconnected from the content of the articles they are replying to. Like on a post about a man's life story in Africa, he replied, "Hey Bob, do you know what the difference is in one of Captain Kutchi's famous king-size sirloin steak sandwiches in an Ashton Kutcher movie is? Answer: the steak sandwich is good. Ha, ha, ha. And don't forget the key lime pie. It's to die for. Roger. From 2009 to 2013, every KLP post was totally unique. Starting in 2013, replies started getting copy and pasted on multiple articles. Users on Reddit began to compile the replies and created a sort of archive. Though it was pretty extensive, they weren't able to get all of the replies, as it was just way too much work. The paste bin has since been deleted by the moderators, but the replies were incredibly interesting at times, being extremely odd and surreal. I sure hope that this will be a great opportunity for everyone to see some of Don's scenes from his productions of his classic hits, Tales from Kucheritaville. You know that Rickles and Johnny Carlson together produced those comedy hits about their friend Mr. Cutchy Pelez and their wild and crazy exploits of Cutchy's Key West in the world of key lime pies from the perspective of Johnny Carson, Don Rickles, Cutchy Pelez, and Steve Martin's eyes. What a hoot those classic hits surely were. Don't miss them. Be sure to tune in next month. We laughed until we cried watching those funny movies. The Tales from Kucheritaville. I think that they must be available in a box set. Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies. Please take a few minutes and enjoy my true stories about the wonderful world of key lime pies, as well as the magic of the most beautiful Mrs. Anita Pelez, wife extraordinaire and the beauty queen of the key lime pie world. Oh, what an honor that must be. Elwood Blues here. Hey, how are you all doing? That's great. I am just sitting here watching Major Crimes on the tube. Pretty good show. Wouldn't you just love to be eating a nice big slice of Anita's key lime pie as you two lovers are snuggling there watching the show? Then you two lovebirds can get into each other's drawers after this episode goes off. That's sure what my love AI are contemplating as we eat our second slice of pie. Well, eat your hearts out. Better luck next time. Ah, yes, my little chickadees. May each one of you enjoy your very own key lime pie baked by the lovely and most gracious Mrs. Anita Pelez and her handsome husband, Captain Cutchy Pelez, together the proud owners of Asheville's own. Anita and Cutchy Pelez's key lime pie factory and grill, conveniently located near the Blitmore House and Estate in that beautiful city known as Heaven on Earth whenever Mrs. Alina Penez is anywhere near. Ah, the magic of Anita Pelez and her key lime pies. Voted the country's favorite for the past 27 consecutive year. That babe can bake me a pie anytime she wants to. Elwood Blues. Honey, sit here on my lap and we can talk about the first thing that pops up. Hell yes. Yeah, baby. Elwood Blues. Turn your ladies on in extra high heat mode easily just by seducing her with Anita Pelez's ultra sexy key lime pies. You know the pies that her and her famous husband, Cutchy, have been baking the last 40 years over to their key lime pie factory near the Blitmore House and Estate in North Carolina? Yeah, that's the ones. You dirty mind. Shame on you. Anita's KLP will light her candle and make her hard to handle. Guaranteed that she will get a hold of your handle too. Your boy Elwood says, ah, the magic of Anita Pelez and her key lime pies. Yeah, you'll be aha-ing too. Put your faith in Anita's pies. Though the restaurant closed, the obvious question stands. Why is this mystery reviewer posting all these fake reviews about a closed down restaurant? One common assumption is that these were done by a bot. It's not unusual for bots to mass post comments, especially in regards to restaurant reviews. It's also surprisingly common for them to be context specific, being able to reply to a blog based on the content in the blog itself. So this theory as a whole isn't so far-fetched, but why would anyone want to create a bot to advertise a restaurant that closed several years ago before the start of the posts? While 700 posts have been verified as KLP posts, there's some evidence, like a Disquiz account that some posts removed, to believe that the real number of posts could be double that. But even if we assume 1,500 posts over 7 years, that's less than a post per day. Certainly very doable for a dedicated person with time on their hands and nothing better to do with their life. Another common guess is that this is some sort of ARG or performance art. This question comes up with most online mysteries, and the answers are always the same. If it's an ARG, it's a bad one with many years of clues and absolutely no payoff. If it's some sort of online performance art, it's also not very satisfying. If this was performance art of some sort, you'd assume the person posting these would thrive on the attention. Unfortunately, the opposite seems to be true here. In 2016, after 7 years of posts, Reddit users outed him and started digging into this mystery. In November of 2016, the Kutchi poster started making references to people reading his posts and discussing them online, with phrases like, "Do you ever feel like you're being watched?" In 2017, there were only 3 Kutchi's posts made. In early 2018, he also made 3. He hasn't resurfaced since. So, unless this was a very shy performance artist who thrives on being left alone, I think we can rule out that explanation. So, who is he? Users on Reddit have several theories, including Kutchi himself, Oswald Perez Jr., his son, or maybe even mentally ill Asheville resident who used to love the restaurant and the key lime pies. They go as far as to examine writing styles and pop culture references to guess the age, gender, and location of the KLP poster. But this unfortunately remains a mystery, a somewhat disturbing one at that. Reading through some posts, with the last one being, Captain Kutchi's award-winning cheeseburgers in paradise, king-size sirloin steak sandwiches, and the world's greatest key lime pies could possibly be the best food you'll ever eat in this life. Available only at Miss Anita and Captain Kutchi's Pelez's Key West Cucharitaville Cafe, grills, bars, and their historic 1917 key lime pie factory. The best in the West. They serve the South with the finest, famous since 1976, in beautiful South Asheville, North Carolina, on US 25 South, just 10 minutes south of the Blitmore House and Gardens. Merry New Year, y'all. See you real soon. The Captain. Oh no, he's back. And many of you might not think that this was that disturbing, but to me, I think it was just terrifying. So some person out there is just constantly making weird, also sexually oriented posts, some of them, to your random restaurant. Imagine being Anita and Kutchi, and they used to own this restaurant, and they know that someone is posting about them constantly, and they don't know if they're a threat, they don't know if this is some sort of weird bot, they don't know anything, but they do know that someone is weirdly obsessing about the restaurant. I think it's creepy. I don't know if you guys think it's creepy as well, but for some reason, it just felt off. It just felt that weird vibe that something wasn't right. Am I right on that one? Comment down below if you agree with me. But yeah, I thought it was just weirdly eerie. Garfield phone mystery. Since people traveled the seas, they have been putting messages inside glass bottles. Maybe it is the idea of connecting to a complete stranger that you will probably never meet, or that you want to put some message out there to travel the seas forever. There's a reason people have been doing it for hundreds of years. But what could possibly be the reason for releasing Garfield-themed telephones into the sea in a very specific area so that they end up on a particular stretch of the coastline of Brittany, France? Well, they were first spotted in the 1980s. Bright orange-colored cat heads, telephone wires, and receivers would wash up on the beach to be picked up by cleaners. Rather than some cryptic message, most people thought it was some lost shipping container on the bottom of the sea that was slowly leaking cat-themed communication devices. Either way, it was definitely not good for the environment to be releasing all those plastics. Attempts were made at a search, but for 30 years, no one could find the source. The breakthrough came when a newspaper named French Info wrote about this strange phenomenon as part of their campaign known as Pollution Alert. This caught the eye of a local farmer named Rien Mauvin, who had also seen these washed up on the beach back in the mid-1980s. He quickly contacted a journalist and revealed that he and his brother had actually gone to investigate back then. They found it. As people had guessed, it was a shipping container that had been stuck inside a deep sea cave filled with Garfield phones. The container was inaccessible most of the year, but in 2019, after the farmer revealed his story, volunteers managed to make their way in. Sadly, the container was empty, which meant that all the plastic junk had been distributed into the ocean, and they were too late. So, while the mystery was solved, it was rather a sad ending as the damage had already been done. Those phones would eventually break down and, as you might already know, form microplastics and just plastic in general, which are harmful to basically all life. And it can even be ingested by us when we eat the fish that swallow those minuscule plastic particles. Lord Nazi Ruso. YouTube has over 100 million channels, with around half actively uploading videos at least once a month. With that much content to sift through, it can be nearly impossible to detect every single violation, so some unsavory individuals manage to slip through and gain some fame. One example is Alexei Makeyev. Born in Moscow in 1974, Alexei wasn't exactly the nicest person growing up. He underwent a psychiatric examination, but nothing was diagnosed explicitly, but he was put on administrative leave in 2003 by his employer. In 2012, he started harassing members of his community and built some popularity online. In his videos, he would be extremely racist, such as calling a 3-year-old Mexican child a monkey and harassing a group of teenage Mexican boys on the beach by walking through them and stepping on their pizza. In one particularly disgusting video, he knocked down an older woman who was walking from behind. As police complaints from other residents kept increasing, he eventually shifted to Mexico in 2015. He would earn the nickname Lord Nazi Ruso there because he would frequently display imagery such as SWAT. He didn't stop making his racist videos, however, ignoring the fact that he was literally living in the country of the people he was making fun of. He was also fired by the tour company that he worked for, Aqua World, in November 2015 as he was being aggressive to others. Eventually, some residents of Cancun, where he was renting a flat, got fed up and protested outside his apartment by shouting insults and throwing rocks at him. Police initially took notice of it but left soon after. The crowd promptly escalated and began to attack Makeyev, severely injuring him. In the fighting, Makeyev stabbed a 19-year-old, who eventually died from his wounds in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. Makeyev managed to escape, by which point the police had arrived. He had a craniocerebral injury, which means that his actual brain was injured due to blunt force trauma. Alexei was later taken into custody by the police as he was charged with murdering the 19-year-old. He argued self-defense, but the opposition managed to prove that Alexei already had a knife with him and used it to his advantage to stab him multiple times. He was found guilty and sentenced to 37 years and 6 months in prison. Finno-Korean hyperwar. Many stupid memes arise from 4chan, where people with nothing better to do make up fantasies all the time. One of the long-running jokes on the site is nationalists, people that are far too proud of their nation, reminiscing about their country's previous golden age. For example, the Serbians to the 14th century Serbian Empire, the Greeks to their Byzantine Empire, and Armenia to the extremely old Kingdom of Armenia. The Finno-Korean hyperwar came from a parody of this, where the Finnish and the Koreans had their own highly advanced ancient civilizations tens of thousands of decades before our time. Keep in mind that this section is pure fantasy, but it is fun to pretend otherwise. Anyway, these two major powers fell into a catastrophic war roughly 6,000 to 8,000 years ago. The result changed civilization forever. According to one hypothesis, the two were actually connected, and it was in fact a civil war, but others say that due to the large amounts of land exchanged in the war, both nations just ended up looking similar. So, what was the spark that ignited it all? The major theory is that it was just like many Asian soap dramas: inheritance. Someone called Hywarkin, humbly named Emperor of Humanity and the Master of the Universe, had two twin sons who each wanted the title. One twin said that he was born exactly 5 minutes earlier than the other. He deserved the title, but the other one said that he was given it in a private conversation with his father. So, to avoid any bloodshed, the empire was split into two. One son founded the Yuan Korean dynasty, and the other founded the Habsburg, Finnish obviously, dynasty. But of course, there were some disputes and over the ancestral land of Titan, which was unfortunately right at the borders of both lands. These two were not only the only players, however, as a third party known as Lemuria shows up. Lemuria is another ancient continent with highly advanced technology and powerful magic, making it a very important faction and potential ally in the hyperwar. They specialized in defensive spells and often collaborated with the Koreans to make weapons as well. However, soon after the war, the whole continent completely disappeared, becoming the biggest unsolved mystery to ancient scholars. Some say that due to the war, it was completely submerged as a result of a shift in geography, while others say it was transported into a whole nother plane of existence by magic. Still, it remains an important piece of history, with its artifacts and knowledge contributing majorly to subsequent civilizations. Back to the war. Countless battles later that we will not be covering here, the Koreans were not doing too well. In fact, the Finnish had come to their capital and were about to destroy it when the Korean commander, in a last-ditch Hail Mary, activated the Giza Mass Autism Array. Wow, I can't believe this is my job now. This did not work. It affected both sides equally badly, and both commanders died with mass casualties to their armies. In the end, the Huan Empire fell and the Finnish forces took over the capital. It wasn't over, however. There was a new enemy now. Two actually. Autism and ADHD. The Finnish drew their forces back to fight them and ultimately failed. Autism consumed the entirety of Asia and Europe, and ADHD went on to form Brazil. Thus, the hyperwar ended and the start of modern civilization as we know it started. There is still some history you might not know of, however, still remaining. Soon after it ended, two civilizations rose up in a now wasteland Earth, the Proto-Indo-Europeans and the Hyperboreans. These two would spread all over Earth, creating advanced spacefaring civilizations, and also Troy, which, as you might know, was destroyed by Greeks rather cleverly. Unfortunately, just as things were getting good, aliens arrived. Despite some brave and human resistance, most of it was enslaved, and for a while, the planet was ruled by alien overlords. On another planet, somewhere in the galaxy, a massive war was going on. At the end of this destructive war, it was destroyed, and so were several other planets, unleashing lethal radiation that killed many of the aliens. Humans were luckily spared, as the souls of the former planet moved to Earth because they were highly compatible with its biome. As the remaining aliens ran back to their planets and took their technology with them, humans were put back into the Stone Age for a very long time. The owners of the previously mentioned souls came back for Earth in massive ships, which ushered in a new technological revolution. Several centuries and wars later, Atlantis was formed but became so advanced that its citizens all became degenerates. The gods of Olympus couldn't stand this, so they sunk it into the ocean, where it remains to this day, lost. Still, colonies remained, which became small independent kingdoms, which were ruled by godlike aliens from a planet that was destroyed, predictably, in a war. These kingdoms were also incredibly advanced, but stopped when they discovered an ancient Finno-Korean fossil that revealed secrets that we can't reveal here. The aliens, scared, wiped most of humanity and taught the remaining some basic survival skills and left, promising to return someday. Thus, modern civilization came into existence. And wow, that was one hell of a deranged and weird rabbit hole. And alright guys, that wraps up some deranged internet rabbit holes. Comment down below what you thought about this video. This one was a little bit different than usual. This wasn't kind of all deranged and weird. Well, it was really weird, but it wasn't all disturbing and terrifying like it usually is. So it was kind of a weird mix of odd and eerie stories as well, and rabbit holes as well, and like the Garfield one, some more lighthearted ones. Comment down below what you thought about that. Did you like the kind of, pick-me-up ones in the middle of the story, or would you like them to be all dark and depressing and deranged, as the title says? But I appreciate you watching. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know. Thank you so much. Love you guys. See you in the next one. Bye.